Today I wanted to share a troubleshooting technique that I love to use whenever I'm working on something that has gone wrong. So I've used this technique on my motorcycle, on my electric forced air furnace, and it's just something that I felt might be very beneficial to the printing community. So I like to use a mind map to be able to list all of the things that I know so that I can use those items towards trying to resolve whatever the problem might be. I like to get back to basics. Whenever something's been working and it stops working, it's like you go to the basics first before you go down the rabbit hole. So I'm using a mind map today to be able to share 3D printer troubleshooting technique, and this is going to be part one, but I'm going to do a very basic element to begin with, which is no power. And I know it's very basic, but I want to share the technique. So the very first thing that electrical people are taught is that if there's no power, is it plugged in? So we got our basic column here, and is the unit plugged into the wall? The next thing is, in this case, is it plugged into the printer? So I'm using an Anycubic Cobra Go, and you can disconnect the power cord from the printer itself. Now, I haven't had it happen on this printer, but my other printer, if I move it wrong, it will become disconnected at the printer, not from the wall, but from the printer itself. So it becomes loose. Then the last thing, if you have no power on the unit, and again, we're in the basic column right now, is the wall outlet powered? So simple to do with a basic table lamp is to verify, have you popped the breaker that the printer is plugged into? That's very basic. If these items are good, then you have to look at the advanced column. But before we go into the advanced column, one of the things you have to do is to ask yourself, do I have the skill set? So one of the things that's beautiful about this mind map is that you can put links to videos, you can put notes, and in this case you click the little notes, it pops out. So do you have the skill set, the ability to safely use a multimeter? Do you have the ability to be able to disassemble and reassemble the printer itself? If you don't, I would recommend using a camera to be able to record the disassembly so that you're able to reverse the steps if you need to. That being said, if you decide to pursue this avenue, you do so at your own risk, okay? So a very simple thing to verify is the main power switch. It's a rocker switch. There's most likely some type of connection that could come loose on there. Maybe soldered, I don't know, I didn't open it. But vibrations can do strange things when a terminal has not been connected properly. Another thing you'll want to do if you decide to open up the control panel is to verify all the connections. Again, if they haven't been properly locked in, clicked into place, and the unit's been vibrating at a certain period of time, that connection should come loose. You're going to have something that's going to stop working. Whether it is going to be the screen, a stepper motor, a heater, the feedback for the heater. So again, but you do so at your own risk. So another item that I wanted to talk about today, and again, this is just part one, is no filament feed. So I've created two columns here. One is basic, one is advanced. So if the printer's working well and it stops working well, then you go back to basics, and one of the first things that you do is you check, has the filament choked out on the reel, meaning that the extruder gear cannot pull the filament off the reel because it is choked out like a choke leash on a dog. And it happens. It hasn't happened to me in a long time, but years ago it happened on my other printer where it got choked out, and of course the print head floated around in the air printing nothing because the extruder couldn't pull the filament off the reel. So another item is going to be the extruder gear is loose. There's a set screw on that gear, and if it comes loose, you could end up with the stepper motor shaft spinning and the gear doesn't move at all, or you could get a stick slip situation, something to look for, to inspect. The extruder gear gets dirty, so meaning that the teeth get filled up with filament particles. So I like to go in there periodically and just take some canned air and blow it out in a soft bristled brush, but ideally do not blow the particles towards the Bowden tube. The next item is that the extruder gear can be worn out so that it can't get a proper grip to be able to drive the filament forward into the print head. The Bowden tube can become blocked. I know that using the Cobra Go's method of unloading the filament can actually leave particles that can break off and end up being stuck in that Bowden tube. And I have had that happen. I just happened to see it because the tube is transparent. So I cleared out the tube just to be on the safe side to make sure that those particles didn't create any issues down below. Not that I know that they would or not. So another item is a nozzle jam is a possibility, and you could heat it up and you can try to clean it, but it's always good to have a few spare nozzles on hand to be able to change it out should there become any issue of it becoming too blocked or the nozzle is worn out. No heat on the nozzle, so I have all kinds of bits and pieces that are kicking around from doing tests, etc. So if you suspect that the nozzle may not be heating up sufficiently, just take a piece of material on the outside and press it up against the nozzle just to test to see, is the nozzle hot or not. So if there is no heat on the nozzle, that's not in this basic column. That's going to end up over here in the advanced column if there is no heat. And so far, this is what I've generated for the advanced column, but this is about going back to basics for the moment. When you get into the advanced, it could be a stepper motor connection. So meaning the connection on the motor or the connection that is inside the control panel. Maybe you have a dead stepper motor. So a possibility could be to switch out the stepper motor with one of the others just to see if it will drive, so that you're able to determine that maybe it's in the control panel or maybe it's the motor itself. So these items here are a little bit more advanced, and what you have to decide is, do you have the skill set to go here or do you need to get assistance from someone else? This is what I have so far. I just wanted to put it out there and share it and see if there's any interest in this. If there is, please let me know and I will continue. Thanks for watching. Happy printing.